about the properties of logs, because you're going to need these properties to be able to solve log equations later on. And so I have the first three here, and then there's two more that we'll come back with in a second. So the first three, which to me are like the ones that you really, really need to know, are the addition property, subtraction property, and power property. And all of these properties have to do with when you have logs that have the same base. So I've just chosen base 7, but it could be any base. So I have log base 7, I have that throughout my problems here. When you're adding two logs, that doesn't mean that you're adding the x and the y, what I call the answer portion of the log. You're not adding that. You're adding the logs, and when you add the logs, what that really is doing is it's really multiplying these. Which again, if you think of log as bay, then those are the little answers. So log 7x plus log 7y would actually combine to be log 7x times y. For the subtraction property, when you're subtracting two logs that have the same base, so here I have log 7x minus log 7y, that does not mean that you're subtracting the x and the y. It actually means that you're dividing them. So when I'm subtracting two logs, I'm actually dividing these things here. So this minus this is going to give me log 7 x divided by y. And then finally we have the power property, which can work in both directions. For the power property, if I have a number being multiplied out front of a log, I can take that and make it become the exponent to what I call the answer of the log. And so I could rewrite this to be log 7 x to the 5th. Or the power property can go the other way. It says if I have a log and the little answer portion has an exponent on it, if I need to, if it's convenient for me to do so within the framework of the problem, I can drag that exponent out to the front. And so I could rewrite log 7 y to the 4th as 4 log 7 y. And so you really got to get comfortable with these properties of the logs, because you're going to need them and they're not intuitive, and you're going to need to understand what they do so that way you can solve problems later on. In just a second, we're going to talk about two more properties for logs. I'm back and I have two more properties, which now that I think of it might just be one property. And I've given them my own special name, the canceling out properties. These are things that cancel each other out and it just leaves you with the answer. So I have two different scenarios here. And they both have to do with matching numbers that are going to cancel each other out. In the first scenario, I have a base of 6, and then it's got an exponent that's a log, and in that exponent, the log's base is also 6. Well, what it does is that this base 6 and the log 6 that's in the exponent cancel each other out, and it just leaves you with the 45, and the answer to that problem is 45. Pretty easy. Okay, and then the other one is I have log base 5, and then the answer is also 5 squared. And you can see how the base and the little answer, the portion of the answer, are both 5s. Those also cancel each other out, and it just leaves you with the answer 2. So the answer to that problem is 2. And those are the canceling out properties. In 1 second, I'm going to come back and I'm going to show you some problems that you might see on a math test, expanding and contracting. Finally, we're going to take a look at two problems that you could see on a math test, something like condensing and expanding based on these properties that I've just told you about. So to me, it's easiest if we start with condensing, because that's kind of the way I taught you the rules, was where they were condensing themselves. And condense just means to boil down, pack it all into one tiny little ball of a problem. So I want to condense this here. So the first thing I can see two properties at play here. I can see this one here. We know that that has something to do with the power property. And I can see the addition sign here. We know that that has to do with the addition property. I'm going to do the power property first. So I know that I can take a number that's multiplied out front with a log, and I can make that be the exponent to the answer portion of the log. And so let me rewrite that. That would make this say log 2x cubed, and then we would still have the plus log 2y. Now I can use the addition property to finish off this problem here. So I know that when I'm adding two logs, I'm really multiplying what's in the answer portion of those logs. And here the x cubed, that's all together. So I'm going to multiply the x3 and the y together. So this is going to give me log 2, and then x cubed y, and we're going to put that in parentheses so you know it's all held together. After that, we can go backwards. We can work a problem where we expand it, where we work all of our different log properties in reverse. And so we see a couple things here. We see that we are, let's see, what color do I want to do? Blue. We see that we're dividing. And so we know that that's going to ultimately mean that we're going to subtract two logs. And then we can see that we have these little exponents, which means we're going to bring them out front for the power property. So let's just start by separating this into two separate logs. The log of x to the fourth minus the log of y to the third. That would be your subtraction property. Because now it's like we have the answer and we want to expand it back to like the, old, longer version of itself. Okay, so we know it's going to be two logs and they're going to be subtracted because we're dividing. So we're going to have log 8 x to the fourth. And then the division means that we're minusing the two logs. So then log log 8 y to the third. And then, just so that way we can say we've used every possible rule that we had to use, now we can use the power property. We know that these little exponents here can come out to the front. So then that's going to give me 4 log 8x minus 3 log 8y. And this are the same thing. It's just written, this is in the condensed form, this is in the expanded form. Similarly, this was in the expanded form and this is in the condensed form. And you just use these rules as you need to use them. You just look at your math problem, because what we're building up to is we're building up to solving log equations. You just look at the math problem and you say, what rules do I need to use to be able to get it to a point where I can solve it? And then you just use those rules as they are convenient for you. So in future videos, we're going to look at solving log equations and solving exponent equations. But for right now, I hope you enjoyed this video. Thanks for watching. Hey guys, don't forget to like, subscribe, and check out my website at oliviashirleytutoring.weebly.com, where you can schedule one-on-one tutoring and contact me.